I'm here with Chay Warburton. He is one of my neighbors, lives across the way. And you might be wondering, didn't you go out with a guy named Chase Warburton? This is one of your neighbors.
They did that. Chase.
Yeah. Well, he turns out it's his brother. So, and they live right behind each other. So we're here this morning, out up against the Wellsvilles, and as you can probably tell with the scenery around us, it's
cold,
smoky and chilly. Shay's kind of a wimp.
I got a double.
He's doubled up. I'm wearing a jacket with 3 layers, so I can't really say anything. But all right, Shay. First question: What is the definition of darkness and light metaphorically for you?
Darkness and light metaphorically. Okay. When I think of darkness, for me, it's something that would hold me back. That wouldn't allow me to move forward. Whether I'm moving forward mentally, emotionally, physically, anything that would, impede, my progress or getting better. That's how I'd put that.
Yeah.
Light, on the other hand, I guess it'd be the opposite. What's gonna let me go forward to do better, to see into myself. Sorry, this little fly over here is trying to get in my nose. Let me see into myself. Figure out exactly what's going on. But
awesome. So
I'd keep it that simple.
With that metaphor, what have you ever experienced a sunrise in your own life?
Yeah, I have. Did you want to hear it?
I would love to. Yeah.
All right. So I was addicted to pornography growing up. I think I'd struggled against the addiction since I was 10. And for anyone watching, I'm 26 currently, so it was a long addiction. And there were ups and downs. You do better one week or worse the next, better one day, worse the next day. But for the longest time, it was just bad. It got worse. Being able to finally accept that what the pornography was causing in my life, as far as how it was affecting my personality, affecting my happiness, my mood, people around me were being affected by it. Accepting that and not just accepting it, being able, you can say, oh, I can recognize that it's not a good thing that it's doing this to people. It's not so much recognizing it, but accepting it with the willingness to do something about it.
Right.
That for me was an awakening. Because then I realized, just as much as, the people who care about me didn't want me to have to deal with it, and were realizing that I was miserable, whether you don't know yourself right off the bat, you come to that realization that it's time.
Yeah.
You get the strength you need, whether it's internally or externally, and you can start to make some changes.
So what did it take for you to transition though? Because it's an addiction. Those things they're not easy to overcome.
I'm a deeply religious guy. And so for me, I believe in God. I feel like I know him rather well. And everyone's different in that respect, and I can't speak for everybody. But wanting to know for myself that, and I say now that I'm a deeply religious guy. Back at the time, I didn't care and I didn't know anything. And my relationship and connection to deity was zero. But at the time, I guess, if I go backwards, I didn't want to feel like one other person, and in his sense, that the ultimate person was so disappointed in me. I had enough of that from family, friends, myself.
Yeah.
The last thing I needed to think was, God is still mad at me or upset with what I was doing. So for me, I kind of lost track of the question. I'm sorry.
Well, how did you overcome? How did
Yeah.
you get to that point?
Was I didn't want God to be upset with me anymore, or at least think that he was.
Yeah.
And I learned later that he wasn't. But that was the motivator for me, for myself. It wasn't my family, it wasn't my friends, it wasn't my parents or my siblings. It was, for me, that connection with him. And everyone's connection is going to be different. For someone else, it might be their mom or their dad or a sibling or best friend. I don't know. But for me, that was it.
So was it enough just to build a relationship with God for you? Like what's the formula for you?
The relationship did help. But for me, what truly, brought on the change, because the relationship with God was what, for me, aided it. But what brought the change was finally admitting to myself. So I guess it kind of did come back to me in the end there. But the relationship with him helped. Was admitting to myself that, yeah, I didn't want to get over it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. At the time, it was something I longed for. I still wanted it.
Yeah.
And I wanted it for a long time. And even being married now, I for a time there, I still wanted it.
Right.
And I had to admit to myself that, and deep down in my heart, that was the truth. I had to tell my wife that. Had to see her cry to that. Had to admit the honest truth that for our situation, I was not loyal.
Yeah.
And that kind of honesty is what finally got the chains off, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And that's what finally freed me from it, or gave me the strength to keep going.
Yeah.
When you're walking in the dark, you can only go so far. You lack of trust or confidence. You're nervous about what's the next step going to bring. But when you finally get those chains off, darkness is gone. The room's full of light, and you can see. The fear goes away, and then the confidence comes, and it's easier to do what you have to do or keep doing.
Yeah.
So that moment with her was the turning point. And I'm in clean sands.
That's awesome, man.
And it wasn't like there were any major relapses. There wasn't full-blown pornography, but anything can lead to that.
Right, yeah.
You don't want to see anything. And so it might have been just the little subtle oopses.
Yeah.
Call them oopses. But no, it's all gone now.
Man, that's great. I appreciate your honesty and being willing to share that too. I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
I had a pornography addiction for a long time, and I've been in recovery for years, just trying to do my best to keep that kind of stuff at bay. And it's powerful. I mean, our bodies are designed to crave after that. So to combat it takes some sincere work. So that's awesome that you're to this point.
Hey, it took 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can do it.
Yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't want that to be discouraging for anybody, too, if they hear that and go, 16 years, I'm screwed. It's been 2. I don't want 20 more.
Yeah.
It's all on you.
Right.
It can be that hard or that easy, and don't beat yourself up if it's that hard.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the life lesson that you've learned from that? Like, if you could sum up that experience was and what to take away, how would you share that with somebody?
A relationship with God, with Jesus Christ, is more important in the feeling factor, whether you're religious or not. You can't deny it, and you won't be able to truly change without it. And that might be what has kept people from changing. You know, there are plenty of people out there who don't believe in such things, and they could get over it, but it's only for time. It's never permanent. They might keep falling back into the same rut and think there's no hope, and that leads to worse actions and worse things, such as one, taking their own life.
Right.
Thinking that's the only way out. But that relationship with the deity and his son is the true factor.
Yeah.
That leads to being free. You'd say it's crazy, it's not true. How would you know that? Well, it's worked for millions. It'll continue working for millions because it is true. Yeah. Truth works.
Yeah.
What isn't true doesn't work. It's temporary.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what about the word wholehearted? Let's transition to that. What does it mean to be wholehearted to you?
I'd kind of go back to that story again where I had to talk to my wife. I'm doing everything not to like. I'd kind of go back to the story about when I spoke to my wife.
Yeah.
For me, wholehearted is admitting to yourself who you are, and to someone else. Someone else needs to hear it. You don't have confidence in who you are unless you're willing to share it with somebody else. And as important as the relationship is with God, that's all by faith. You have to believe.
Right.
You can't see it. And so being able to have that honesty with someone who's in front of you.
Yeah, physically.
And hopefully who's meaningful to you. That is, that opens you up. And so wholehearted for me is that honest, direct connection.
That's cool.
It doesn't have to bring change about right off the bat, but it is that connection.
With that definition, who's somebody that you would consider wholehearted, and how have they impacted your life?
I'd say my dad. My sister, about 6 years ago, took her own life. I was out of country and got the call one day, and that was it. Depression. It got her. And my dad has struggled ever since. In fact, he's never gotten over it. He still fights it today. He still cries. He deals with it. But despite everything that he's going through and everything he is willing to let go of and everything he's not willing to let go of and what he still wants to deal with, whether he knows that or not, he's honest about it, honest with himself. And I can see the goodness in him. Yeah. And it's inspiring.
Man.
Get up better
here. Okay.
Cover the mic there.
Yeah, I just kind of want to sit with that for a second. That's pretty amazing to try and confront something like that.
Yeah, that can. And I know we're talking about pornography addiction, but at least that's how it started. But the grief of suicide in one's life is just as strong, just as dangerous.
Yeah.
Heck, it even can influence pornography. It can lead to many other things. It can lead to the person taking their own life in retaliation.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
Yeah, you never think it'll happen to you, and then it can.
Man. So do you have any fears or negative beliefs about yourself that you have to combat? And if so, what are they?
My fear is I'm going to hurt my family.
Yeah.
We have 2 kids now, 1 more on the way. And I've lived it, what the addiction and temptations can do to a family, more than yourself, but to the family.
Yeah.
Especially children. And my fear is, I'm past it now. I'm in the remissive state now. But if anything were to ever come back again, anything were to happen, and you have to be honest about that. It could.
Right.
You can't say, oh, it's a perfect little world now that I'm past it. No, if you admit that it could, that helps you avoid it.
Yeah.
And so I do. I fear for my family that I could hurt them. Do it all over again and worse,
So what's the response to that kind of thing? How do you combat those possibilities and those beliefs that you could hurt your family?
And if anyone does watch this, there's no sunrise right now. It's all cloudy.
It is all cloudy.
It looks cool, but it's cloudy. I don't think I've ever thought about that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
So how do you combat any of those fears, doubts, negative beliefs about yourself or the things that you're capable of? How do you keep them at bay?
I'd go back to my belief in God, in Jesus Christ. That they know who I am.
Yeah.
They know who I can become. And that kind of hope that you don't have to be this fighting an addiction. And I'd say miserable because I was.
Yeah.
Miserable person, your whole life. You can be a better man, better woman, better person. And so, and it's faith. We all act on faith. We believe before we do something. No matter, you believe your day wouldn't be good, you wouldn't get out of bed. So it's all down to faith, religious or not. You believe and then you do it. So believe you can be a better person. So I just, fight it off.
Yeah.
I guess simply ignore it. I don't know.